What up? Welcome back to Sexton Accountability. Today I want to talk about the difference between a lapse and a relapse, and I want to talk about identifying a lapse and a relapse and the responsibility that people have that are already in long-term recovery in a position of authority. Okay? So let's get right into it. So there's this misconception that if someone uses a substance one time after maintaining consecutive days, months, years in recovery, then that is a relapse. Okay. A relapse, by definition, is basically a deterioration after a period of remission. Okay. So if someone uses something one time and it doesn't cause a deterioration, by definition, that wouldn't be a relapse. But if they feel it is a relapse, they get to label it as such because it's their recovery, okay? And we are our own authorities when it comes to our recovery. This is something that a lot of people just can't get. A lot of people that subscribe to the idea that addiction is just a choice perpetuate this narrative, okay? And this is rooted in dogma. The problem is when you dictate someone else's recovery and you tell them, hey, you relapse, you need to reset your sober date. For people that are in the first couple years of recovery, the first couple days, first couple months, their whole identity can be based on that. Their self-worth can be based on how long they've been able to maintain recovery. And so when you tell them, you relapse, bro, reset your sober date, they can feel like they lost everything. And someone that has nothing to lose will do things that aren't good for them. They will self-sabotage, especially if they feel judged by the very people that they are going to for help. So what are they going to turn to? They're going to turn to substances most likely. So if you're someone who's out there dictating other people's recovery, you are causing harm. The crazy thing about it, it's ironic. Those very people will say that my narrative is enabling because they just lack the fundamental understanding that our words as people in a position of authority have an effect on people that we are advocating for, giving suggestions to, and all of that. So it's unethical. And the thing is that there's no really system of ethics put in place for peer support. So, and I'm not saying that to invalidate it. I'm an accountability consultant, okay? So I have to basically subscribe to my own morals and ethics in order to conduct myself in a way of integrity, all right? So I'm not trying to say that these forms of recovery are not valid. I'm just saying that if you are helping others, working with others, you have to maintain a certain level of integrity, ethics, and acknowledge your authority. Because if you're sober for years, or if you're in recovery for years, then that literally puts you in a position of power because people will come to you to ask for advice and suggestions. So this is a serious thing, all right? So I just want to make the distinction. A lapse, in my opinion, would be using something like one time and then getting right back into positive coping skills, accountability, etc. All right. A relapse, in my opinion, would be to use a substance, not talk about it, and continue to use the substance and to basically get worse. Okay. Or to, get worse or to continue where you left off. All right. So the thing is, I understand that people can hear this and they can think, oh, well, you're shifting responsibility. No. My whole life is based on accountability and responsibility, and that's the only reason why I'm still in recovery almost a decade later, okay? So, look, I'll just say this. We can encourage accountability while also being understanding and compassionate and not projecting onto other people. Point blank, bro. It's very simple. The problem is not just people in long-term recovery that are perpetuating this. There's also people that are new to recovery, okay? And to be quite honest, they're kind of clueless, because I was very clueless when I first started this. I didn't know what to do. So I had to kind of blindly follow shit in order to, like, I don't know, feel any sense of stability that was fleeting, really. And so there's a lot of people that are in early recovery. And in my opinion, early recovery is the first couple years. Okay, that's just how I identify it. It's the first couple years. And those people basically are so, like, it's so fresh for them. They're so close to the actual substance use disorder that they have to, like, say things to basically demonize substance use disorder, because they're convincing themselves that it's not a good option. And honestly, that helped me. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. That helped me. It did, until it didn't. Then I realized I was operating from a place of fear. And so that's kind of the issue that I have with this, like, projecting your standards on the other people, is that it can encourage a atmosphere of fear-based thinking, and that's not healthy. That's not healthy. It's hard. That's not good. That's not sustainable. That can, cause people to crash and burn. So, look, we need to be very careful with how we talk about this stuff. All right, and ultimately, it's up to the individual to decide. Now, there are circumstances where someone is basically having anosognosia, which is like lack of insight as it relates to a diagnosis, okay? So yes, that happens, okay? But if someone has maintained recovery for, months, years, and they have a moment where they use something and they go and tell people, then they are in recovery. They're saying, hey, this happened, and they're trying to stop it from continuing. But then if they're met with misunderstanding, hate, and judgment, that causes a discrepancy. It causes a problem. It's very simple. It's very simple. Now, does that person have responsibility if they take that and say, oh, I'm gonna go use now because this person said, I'm not clean anymore. I'm not in recovery anymore. Yeah, that's their prerogative. That's their responsibility if they choose to go use. But I'm saying that as someone in a position of authority, we can greatly affect these people that are coming to us for suggestions, for advice, for understanding and compassion. And so, look, there's a lot of people that are in recovery long term that are straight up fucking assholes, that are just not the best people. They're like, either just aggressive or like they haven't done the clinical work they need to do. Because let's face it, recovery, in my opinion, is much deeper than just not using or even just going to like recovery meetings. There's so much more to it. There needs to be clinical work done, in my personal opinion. If you're not doing clinical work, I still love you. Your recovery is still valid, okay? But I'm just saying, we need to also understand, if you're someone that's new to recovery, you need to understand that you can run into people that have been in recovery for 20 years and they're not someone that you would ever want to spend time with. Okay, so I'm just saying, that's really my point, is that we need to be cautious and protect our own energy. And ultimately, this is about people not dying. Okay, this is about people not dying. And, I recently shared the story of my friend who used cannabis after being in recovery for years. And he went to 12-step meetings and they told him, you relapse, you need to reset your sober date. He felt like he had lost everything and he went back to doing fucking meth and, other stuff. All right. So where he went to for support, he was met with judgment and dogma. All right, so this is serious. This is serious stuff. So if you're watching this and you're someone in recovery and you've perpetuated some of these narratives, you need to stop. You need to stop immediately, okay? You have a huge responsibility and you need to acknowledge that. So let's support people. Let's encourage people. If anyone has any questions for me, or if you feel like you are in a actual relapse, if you lapsed and you haven't talked about it, you can hit me up. You can hit me up at my website, sextonaccountability.com. You can send me a message on there, and I always just read the messages, okay? So be easy, be safe out there.